Welcome back to my life story. In the previous episode, I told you about the roadside library from which we borrowed books to read during summer vacation when I was around 12. When our neighbor in the manager's building, Nancy Auntie, discovered that we went to Ghatkopar to buy our weekly vegetables and fruits, she decided to tag along. While a lot of people in our township did not have cars, the people in the manager's building were given company cars to use. Nancy Auntie did have a car, but she was always on the lookout for any freebies she could take advantage of. Soon, Nancy Auntie's friend Joyce Auntie also started tagging along for our weekly vegetable shopping. Nancy Auntie, Joyce Auntie and Celine Auntie were some of the Anglo-Indian secretaries of the Godreges that I had mentioned earlier. So that particular summer, when I was 12, we went to the library many times, and it was a very joyful time for me. I used to look at the book covers and randomly select a book based on how interesting the cover looked. One day I saw a book where the cover art was a cartoonish man running away from some animals. The title of the book was Vets Might Fly. I had just discovered James Herriot, who quickly became one of my favorite writers, along with P.G. Wodehouse, of course. One day, I looked at a book cover in that street-side library where the cover art was a painting of a horse, a woman and a man. I found that cover interesting, so I picked up the book. Back in the car, Joyce Auntie was with us. She looked at the book in my hand and exclaimed, "Oh, I didn't know you read Mills and Boons." This made my mom's antenna start beeping immediately. Now, I had never heard of Mills and Boon in my entire life and had no idea what genre this book represented. A little intimidated and nervous, I timidly said, "I don't know who this writer is. I have never read a book by this writer before." At the time, I did not realize that Mills and Boon was a romance novel genre/publisher and not a writer's name. This seemed to relax my mom, who seconds earlier looked like she might attack me. I vividly remembered all the beatings and humiliation that mom had subjected me to and did not want a repeat of that. Inherently, I had always been fascinated by the idea of marriage or being a couple. Even as a 2-year-old, when I had attended a wedding, I really wanted to get married. My parents were amused and asked me, "But whom will you marry?" So I said, "I will marry that man," pointing to the groom. I had no sexual awareness and I had no idea what couples do. But as a child, I loved the idea that you have one special person who cares for you more than they care for anybody else, or who loves you more than they love anybody else, or who is there for you. The idea of having that most special friend, your dearest friend, was so fascinating to me that I really wanted that in my life. When I was 12, I was completely unaware of the existence of sex as a concept. Mom had been so strict and I had been so scared that I complied without question whenever she asked me to do something. So when some movie songs showed a dancing woman's midriff, Mom said I shouldn't look. So I would obediently look away. I did not mentally or actually question any of this because I had been trained not to. Mom had conditioned me via intense beatings. So my mind simply wouldn't go there. When I picked up my first Mills and Boon, I had no idea that it would be a turning point in my life. As I read this novel, it awakened or reawakened these romantic longings in my heart. Now, as a 12-year-old, I was reading this girl meets boy novel and I could not understand why it fascinated me, but it did. So the next week when we went to the library, I sought out another Mills and Boon. These first two Mills and Boon that I read were very vanilla, with the hero giving the heroine a forehead peck at the end of the story. So till this point, I was under the impression that couples cuddle and say lovey-dovey sweet nothings to each other and that's it. That's what being a couple is. However, the third week when I picked up the third Mills and Boon novel was when I came across my first soft porn kind of scene description. I was shocked and scandalized. I could not believe what I was reading. Was this even possible? In this third novel, the couple started getting a little frisky, the teeniest beginning of foreplay, and I could not even believe what I was reading. In addition, I was so surprised by how that made me feel. I could not even believe how good it was making me feel. And those were the beginnings of some longings and awakenings which I did not know I had, or maybe which were long forgotten. So I could not believe what I was reading, and I wondered, what on earth is this? What is happening? Why are they writing this? The further I read, the more scandalized I got. I was like, why is he taking off her shirt? Why is he looking? That doesn't seem right. Who does that? Along with the shock, I could not ignore how I started feeling between my legs. Since the shaming incident, this was the first time I had experienced a pleasant sensation down there. But this was more intense, not just pleasant. I was amazed at how good I was feeling, and I continued reading. Since I was a slow reader and reading times were restricted to afternoons, I could never finish a book in a single day. So the next day, I picked up the novel again. There was more hanky-panky that the couple were up to further in the book. This time I could not resist. I just finished reading the page, went to the bathroom and touched myself. It felt very pleasant. For the next few months, I touched myself for a couple of minutes every day. Then one day, I got an idea. I was like, what if I don't stop after 2 minutes? And so, at the age of 12, I experienced my first orgasm. Needless to say, I was stunned by this. But at this point, I was under the impression that I was the only person in the world that did this shameful act. That's it for now. I'll talk to you next time. Till then, stay healthy, stay happy. Bye for now.